broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome AfterBuzzes. Welcome to the Marco Polo After Show. We have an amazing new background logo image here. It is pretty amazing. We're so excited about this episode, and we really want to engage with you guys too. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/AfterBuzzTV. We're on SoundCloud. You can listen to us on iTunes. We are everywhere. Yes. And we really want to interact with you guys. We want to know what you think about the show, what you love, what you don't love. So you can use the hashtag ABTV Marco Polo. You can also find me on social media at Kim Crossman, and my amazing co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Michael Andrew. You can find me on Twitter at Michael_Drew. That's Michael EAL.
EAL, guys.
EAL, don't forget
different.
That.
And I'm Katie Wilbert, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Katie Wilbert. Just everything Katie Wilbert.
Everything, Katie.
On everything.
Everything comes up, Katie.
Yeah.
It's Katie.
So this episode, rendering. Whoa!
Double meaning.
We've done something cool. We actually, this is the first time that we've all been together, and we haven't seen past this episode.
Yes.
So there can be no spoilers, and I think that's kind of exciting.
That's true.
Our predictions are going to be, quite different and stuff.
I never go ahead.
I couldn't watch
a
second episode after this one because I needed a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
You know,
Okay.
like my brain and my heart needed to process things.
Yeah, after all that rendering, you needed a cool down moment?
My heart needs to render.
Oh, okay.
You know? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a full-on episode. I think the main thing that struck out to me was how many relationships changed, from going into this episode to the end. Pretty much all the big relationships took a big step forward or backwards.
Maybe the relationships rendered?
Maybe they
Did I use
did.
it right?
Wow,
Is that too
that's what
much?
it was.
It's whatever. That's what I'm here for. Let's do it.
So let's talk about, a few points about what you think about the episode as a whole, and then we'll go through it kind of chronologically and pick out a few things.
Okay.
So what did you think, Michael?
Well, first,
As a whole.
I liked it. But other than me liking it, I kind of thought it was kind of fast-paced. Everything kind of happened so quick. Like, so many things happened in this one episode. I was just like, oh, but by the time the episode was finished, I was like, that already? With the deaths and the wars happening and everything it was just paced so much faster when I'm so used to the episodes kind of slowly pacing it. I couldn't find a different word for slow pace, but it was usually a slower pace where it's building up to it. And this episode was just everything. Boom. The first moment, the first scene, something happens. The middle scene, the end scene, and it's just everything changes by the end. And I don't know how I feel about the pace. I kind of feel like it went a little too fast. I felt too much happened.
I agree. I think it almost felt too fast that they missed out that whole war bit, and they just did it with voiceover. And they were like, "Oh yeah," and then we went to war, and this happened.
Yeah,
that was interesting, right?
I think that was just over budget. I think they're just over budget, and I'm dead
point.
honest. I just think that they were just like, you know what, we can't really afford this. What do we do? Listen, just throw up one of them crazy paintings that everyone loves so much, and have Jingham talk crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, though, I thought it was understanding that they probably couldn't show the entire battle, even though, as a viewer, I think you wanted that because he was leading up to it.
It didn't make sense. It kind of threw me off.
I mean, I did appreciate that they used, the art piece and the cuts of the fight because I felt like, okay, well, at least they're still using the culture and history to sort of encapsulate it, because I think too it is a moment in history as well as not just like something to entertain. So I kind of felt like that was a good way of doing that theatrically that I was okay with. Like, I wanted to see the actual battle, but I thought, okay, given that, like, I thought it was an okay way to tie it, but it was so quick. That was the weirdest thing for me.
I just got a theory. I think should I say it now? Or should I say it at the end? Why I think they did it like that.
No, we can talk about it now. That's
I think.
we're breaking all the rules that we don't have.
whatever. We'll go
Yeah,
from the
we're
end to the
crazy.
beginning.
Yeah,
No,
let's start at the end, kind of touch on it, and then we'll start. Yeah.
I think that there might be a bigger battle in the final episode. So they probably don't want to give you too many battles. So
Yeah.
probably give you something light now, and maybe the
little
final.
taste.
Yeah. And
Appetizer.
they're probably gonna go at Jalsadal again. And this one's probably gonna be a big epic, and they probably don't want to oversaturate.
That's
the great
true.
battle. You
Yeah.
like that?
I think that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I think I'm right, actually.
Yeah,
I don't
there
think-
you go.
I just think I'm right.
That is a fact.
That's what's happening.
What is a fact is that every time that the three of us sit down and watch the show and the title's gone, all we do is go,
That's just the
It's
thing.
that music at the top, that deep Mongolian.
That Mongolian drawl, like.
Yeah.
So the first scene, we see that the Chancellor has pretty much taken over. Yeah. So what are your guys' thoughts of that? Like, basically, I thought it was quite interesting. They have so many close-ups of his face in this episode, and he does these weird twitches, and he kind of finds himself funny and entertaining, and that I feel like that adds more creepiness to it. He's like,
Completely.
oh, my wrist is sore.
I know.
So he's sitting there with the Empress, and I didn't know that she's been captured, and then the Emperor, the kid, he's somewhere else, and the daughter, who he doesn't even know, obviously, at the moment, is missing. Is that right? So that's kind of an interesting dynamic to start the show. We see these couple of scenes with him in power. What did you guys think about those opening scenes?
I felt like the Empress looked like she was gonna tear his shit
Yeah, she was upset.
up. Like speaking of close-ups, this episode especially, there were so many moments where I was like, and we get to screen it on this very large screen for anyone who isn't aware of this, and so it's
Behind the scenes.
Yeah,
of
I don't
AfterBuzz.
think they know
Scenes of
that.
AfterBuzz.
I don't think they know of our luxuries.
It's honestly very helpful and really enlightening when you're watching it so large, because you see things that you wouldn't get to when I normally watch it at home on my computer. And watching the Empress, that's all they had to do was do a close-up on her face, and she was like shaking with anger. And I noted that something that's different from Jalsadal and Kublai Khan in this show, but this episode in particular, is he's got this mischievous thing that I guess I wasn't aware he's always had in every episode. Like he's already 10 steps ahead of everyone. So when he's sitting there having these conversations, Kublai looks concerned, like he is a bit like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, but I don't know why you're not more worried. And I think Jalsadal was too cool-faced all the time, and I noticed it once they were in a room together.
Yeah.
I think Jalsadal's feeling, by this episode, I think he's feeling really confident, because by the end of last episode, he came out on top. It looked like it was all over for him, and then he comes out on top. So by the beginning of this episode, he's just like, you can't, I'm bulletproof, baby.
Yeah, pretty
you
much.
You can't touch me.
Everything stacked in his corner.
Yeah, and with the Empress, he pretty much covered it up with some political mumbo jumbo, like, hey, I have to keep you locked in your room for your safety. And I thought, that's pretty smart. He's, his jerk level really jumped in this episode. And speaking of his facial features, I actually wrote that on my note that he gave a lot of good face.
Yeah,
he gave a lot of good. He gave a lot of good face.
A lot of close-ups on him, and once again, there were a lot of close-ups on his hands, which I
Yeah.
thought
So
was
weird.
I don't know what that's about. Maybe if you guys are watching and you know why there's so many close-ups of his hands, like always dragging. So I suppose we could come to our own
Maybe
conclusions.
the director
But
just thinks he's beautiful.
Maybe it has to
great
do with the
hands.
praying mantis thing.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
wondered-
if mantis do a lot of specific things with their hands, if that's how.
Well,
Yeah.
they do have those two claws, where's their main choice of attack.
yeah, so maybe it's
it's something to do with that. Yeah, I just noticed it seems intentional now. It's not just a one-off thing. So then we get moved into seeing the warrior princess with her dad, and we all laughed when this happened. They had this weird
sniffing
greeting
moment.
where it's almost like a French kiss, like kiss kiss, but it's kind of a headbutt and a headbutt with some sniffing
Yeah, he
involved.
sniffs her like her earlobe.
I feel like he literally was like,
Yeah.
"Hi, daughter, it's you."
Yeah,
Like,
it was
I know your
weird.
smell it
Just
too.
in
It was
case.
very odd.
Like,
Now, I felt that this was easier to understand second time watching it, but the first time I saw their interaction, I couldn't quite understand the rhythm between these two and what they were saying. But the second time around, I understand that he's going, "Oh, did you sleep with him?" And she kind of goes, "But I did it for you." And he's like, "Okay." Like, I guess that in a nutshell was what that conversation was. What did you guys think it was initially, and if he approved?
Maybe he smelled her virginity going away.
Yeah, maybe it was.
You know what? This doesn't smell right.
Yeah,
Something
someone else.
different.
You give
Yeah.
it away. You know, maybe.
I thought that was kind of an interesting interaction.
I guess my first reaction to him was like, "You look too young,
So young.
to be her father." I was a little stuck on that.
Well, they start early in the Mongolian era. Everything's so.
That's
they
true.
do everything.
They've
they
got
do
their
everything
own
backwards
16
then.
and pregnant over there.
There's nothing irregular. He probably had her at 16. Was mounting horses at 20, lopping off heads at 22.
But also, I feel like Asian individuals age very well, and so he could be 60,
Drinks a lot of green tea.
and I would be like, "You're too young."
It's a possibility.
It is a
know?
possibility. We then move in to see the Blue Princess. And
yes.
this is an interesting scene. I want to know what you guys kind of think if we take it from when she's brushing her hair until it turns into Marco Polo meets the Hunger Games. That kind of section. Because, what did you think, Michael? What was that?
That scene pretty much encompasses my whole rush theory of the episode. Everything just happened so quick. Like, first he comes in, the guy that's supposed to marry her. He's like, "Hey, let's get out of here." And she's like, "I don't want to marry you." Then he takes out a knife. But then I'm gonna kill you. Then I'm gonna kill you if you don't love me.
He
Then
went
Zabine
for
comes
sure
in.
Glenn Close on
Yeah,
her.
I was like, what the heck? Like, you suddenly now you want to murder her? Then
You will
Zabine
love
comes
me.
in. Yeah, you will love me. Then Zabine comes in, and then he kills Zabine with this like butter knife in the back. That threw me off. And then she kills him. It just all happened. It was
a lot to take in.
It didn't work for me. This was a scene that really bugged. It felt like they were like, "Oh yeah, that storyline.
Everyone's gotta die."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't understand for the storyline that they spent so much time setting up about the Blue Princess having the secret. And they're like, I felt like,
Let's kill all the people
All the
who
people
know
that
about it, so
know.
it's not an issue.
and then she'll confess it later to Marco, and it will be fine. I'm like, well, then why was this even a?
It just
That bugged me.
It was
just
a weird
escalated
moment.
really quick.
And
It was like this
was sort of
escalated.
comical to me. Like Toga, that's his name, right?
Toga.
Is like, yeah, we talked about him being so hard into the friend zone, and that was that moment for me. Him being like, "Fine, if you won't love me and run away with me,
We're both gonna die.
gonna
I'm
die."
gonna kill
okay,
you.
yeah, he went
I'm
all
gonna
like
stab
fatal
you.
attraction, like I'm gonna, boil your bunny moment, and
Boil your bunny. Yeah, good reference. Good callback.
that's what it felt like to me. I was like, Toga, come on, like, be a graceful loser,
Yeah.
And then he gets shot, and then he falls into the water in a very awkward way, and I just was like, buddy, you could have gone out so much better than this.
My whole thing, but if you're taken out of their friend zone, usually there's a good in between. Like, oh, you don't want to be with me, then you go home, then you dwell, then you
Yeah.
stew. He was just like, oh, you don't like me? Screw it. We're at
We're
war
both
anyway.
gonna die. Yeah.
It's just like it was just his decision making on I have to kill you now was so quick.
Way
I
too
just-
quick. It made no
It's
sense.
like, Dad, Toga, I felt bad for
Especially
you last
for
episode.
a man who's supposed to be so in love with her to have that quick.
I questioned
know.
whether he was dead at the end, actually, because there was this weird moment. I'm assuming he does die, but it was kind of weird. Like, she shoots one arrow, and then she goes to shoot a second, and he kind of just looks at her and goes,
Time to take a nap in the water.
and I don't know. I'm leaving a small window in my mind open that he could come back and
Well, hey.
have that, but I don't know.
If
It felt
Zabine
like-
dies from a prick in the back and he's getting an arrow like through his chest and he comes back, I don't know.
I don't know either. So let's move on for that. That was a weird kind of moment.
Wait, a nice little moment for Zabine. I can't believe they just got rid of Zabine like that.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to see Zabine in a real epic fight. I was expecting
No.
to see Zabine go through some real epic
He
battles.
just gets stabbed with a butter knife.
That's it.
Poor guy.
Felt like that scene maybe was an afterthought, and they're like, "Quick,
Yeah.
let's shoot a scene that wraps all this up."
We might not get renewed. Sorry, Zabine.
Yeah. Now, the moment that makes us all cringe, we see the queen with Malin's daughter
Oh, yeah.
and the feet. First of all, big props to the makeup and special effects team, because those feet looked broken
They
as
look
shit.
terrible. They look terrible.
Like all sorts of curved up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need to comment on it much. Just the
That
fact
little
that
girl
it's
is so great too.
And she
She's
does-
really
yeah.
good at crying.
Yeah.
She's a good cry. She does it really good when she's when they're touching her foot and she's just like,
Yeah.
and she does like a little puppy whimper.
yeah.
I'm like, oh.
We get to see the queen show some compassion too, and that's always nice when we're slowly seeing the warmth
Like
of
they
her
showed
heart.
the foot crease. You saw the crease in the. Oh, it was just really.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down too, though, is compassion.
Yeah.
And I think it was important to see, especially going into the fight and everything else that happened in the episode, to see that part of her. And I think we have to keep seeing that part of her because she's in such a place of power.
I was actually afraid they're going to show when she told him to break it again. I actually thought they were going to do it right there. I was like, oh, not again.
Yeah,
thought
I
so
don't need
too.
to see that again.
Not another foot breaking scene.
No, we don't.
This episode, if they would have
One's
added that foot,
plenty.
if they would have added that foot breaking scene in this episode, added with what happens later on,
No.
Too much.
this done, you cannot rewatch this episode.
No.
You just have to take it for what it is. Like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm done.
Yep.
No more.
No more of that. And then we move into probably the most unlikely pairing and weird relationship development in this episode for me, which is Maylin and Ahmed.
See, Ahmed's climbing up the creepometer too. So before it was like
Yeah.
jousted out, but now
I
he's
called it
really
from the
is.
beginning.
Yeah,
I'm like, this
did.
guy is a creeper.
yeah, he's climbing up that. He's just doing some weird things. He's climbing up that ladder of.
I've
creepiness.
named him the puppeteer because he's not involved in any of these situations where his life is at risk. He's
Yeah.
he's whispering in ears. What Shakespeare play is it that has the
Iago. It's Othello is the
Othello,
play.
yeah.
And it's my favorite villain of all time. And he just keeps manipulating everybody by being like, it's so weird. I thought I saw Michael with your wife the other day. I don't know. Just look into it. Just if you want to or whatever.
Good one,
also,
Michael.
you should maybe look for your wife's handkerchief, the one with strawberries. I don't know. It just... I don't know why I keep thinking of this. And then, of course, he's planting things.
Yeah.
And he basically he...
Well,
And there's
all
that
right.
Screws over
smirk
Othello
across
and-
his face at the end when he's looking at the art as if knowingly I don't know, there's just some weird moments.
I like that.
think
I like that
too-
callback to Shakespeare.
They're
How does
digging
that
into
end?
his Othello.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that Othello is convinced that Desdemona, his wife, is cheating on him with his fellow like they're in the army, right? So and so he kills his wife and then finds out that it wasn't, she wasn't really cheating on him, and then he kills himself.
Okay.
So what
And,
happens to Iago?
He
So you think Ahmed's pulling a?
I don't entirely remember what happens to Iago, other than he's pretty much still alive, and he.
Do you guys agree that it seems that kind of a
There's
I mean, I
something
can be.
going on.
Well, I've never. I don't think I've seen Othello, but I like your reference. But I've read Superman, or Batman.
You give us the
I've read
Batman
Batman, and he
analogy.
seems very much like Joker. Now, when he's like Joker, I mean that in a way that Joker's always been able to mess with someone's mind. He can talk to someone and make them commit suicide.
Yeah.
Like he has a like his sidekick is Harley Quinn, and she used to be someone who used to work in a psych ward, and he, just by talking to her, he turned her crazy and made her technically his concubine, his side girl, because he's so good at manipulation. And Ahmed, like Joker, could be
and he does
putting
it.
some mistreat, doing some things like that.
Yeah, he does it so
there you go.
seamlessly in that he's very calm and quiet, and he doesn't.
Let's use more references.
I think
Well, 'cause
like
he-
Joss Sadao is calculated, and you see the calculation in his eyes. I
Like
think
Lex Luthor.
like Lex Luthor. I think Ahmed is different in that he's not sharing his secrets with anyone. Joss Sadao is sharing his secrets with the audience. Ahmed's not. He's a closed box, but I think they're bringing up his childhood and stuff too, so we get to know him more and maybe understand why he's potentially going to do whatever it is he's going to do. But I also think he's attracted to Mei Lin because he sees something in her he sees in himself.
Definitely. I said that it's almost this sick flirting that they've got going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like they're sharing these sad stories about both of their pasts. And you even said, like, he looks almost turned on by it at one point. Like, he's like, and then he flips on her. And, that's this weird back and forth between them in this episode. And
it's like the moment when she's talking to him, when she's insulting him. She's just like, you was your mother a whore? And he's just looking at her like, I like that. Keep saying that. Yeah, maybe she was. What are you talking about? Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird energy between those two. And I'm not sure how it's gonna play out, but
what about when he was like rubbing her back with his thumb?
With those scars, and I don't know.
I do think he has an interest in her personally, but I also think he sees an end goal by using her.
Yeah.
Well, what we learn from his backstory too is that he was taken when he was younger and brought up in that. So this could be a huge just revenge plot for Ahmed.
Like a Russian spy child or something.
Yeah.
But I would think that I would think everyone in his court, that's technically their story. Whoever's not Mongolian, I would think that they came from a land that was conquered, and like Alexander the Great, he immerses them in his culture, and that's how he rules. He respects your culture, but he makes you respect his culture, and he kind of makes you worship him.
Seems risky, right? Well, doesn't it, to have all these foreigners in your court and just trust that by being a good leader, they won't revolt against you for all the misdeeds you did to their people? It seems like a risk.
Well, I mean, if it's in a world where that happens all the time, they could just understand
People
it as
just
war.
understand this is what it is.
Yeah, if you treat them good, it doesn't really matter who's in the government. As long as you're with a government that treats you good, you're going to accept it. If you're with a government that's terrorizing you, then it's always going to start revolution. And I think he knows that. If he's always every day coming through and going super dictator on them, but he's giving them a leeway, so it works in his benefit.
Do you think that Ahmed has a genuine liking to May-Lin, or do you think that after he has a conversation with the queen and she's like, get her on side, and Ahmed gets some more information that, that the daughter's here and stuff, do you think that he gets closer to her purely strategically, or do you think there's something more there?
I think there's something more.
Yeah, I think there's something more too.
I think, they're showing it in the way that he's touching her and the way that he looks at her, and he hasn't hurt her, and I think he's caring for her, and it's that sort of caretaker syndrome too of do they call that Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah, I was thinking of the
but
name
it's
too.
when you fall in love with your captor, right?
Right.
Which I'm not saying couldn't happen for May-Lin if he continues his kindness and is the gatekeeper for her daughter. Like, maybe that's a tactic personally as well as strategically, to be like, if I am the one who has what she wants, like, she has to respect me and obey me. And
it was last episode too, right? When she's held captive and he's like laying above her. Like, he's always weird around
Kinda
her. I like how she
predatory.
calls him out as a snake. She's like, don't hide in the shadows like a snake. He's like, snakes don't like the shadows.
Like,
well,
rat.
you're more like a rat, yeah.
She screamed it
Like
out.
that.
Rat!
Yeah.
How about rat?
So then we see Kublai Khan and all the other people kind of gathered around, and they're saying, we're going to suggest or request a parley, and then Yosef goes and has this interesting scene with the Chancellor. You said that you didn't notice that he limped before. That's not something I noticed either. Maybe it was from another episode, and I've just...
No, he always limped. He always had that stick, though. He always usually walked with a stick.
Oh, okay. I mean,
it was really noticeable to me. But then Josadao said limp away.
Yeah, limp away.
Josadao was on fire with the zingers in that little scene.
Yeah, he was.
He's like,
And
man, you ugly. You sure are ugly. Anyway, look at you. He's just throwing them at him.
playing this power play, and I mean, it's an interesting scene because obviously the Khan's group of people are going to be informed that Josadao thinks that Chawi's dead, so he gets that information. But yeah, there was this weirdness that Josadao kind of calls him out and is saying, there's this weird silence. Basically, he's threatening him. He's going, well, would you make this decision? Would you do this? And do you respect your Khan? And he's kind of quiet, and it just like, I don't know.
And he's like,
Well, and
got
Josadao
you.
says it later to Kublai. It says he's a good man, your chief of war, basically, but he's too honest. Like, he was, you know, an honest man in his silences, and usually silence is more truthful. And he says that to Kublai, and I think it is a testament too to Yosef being true to himself, but also trying to be true to his Khan, which is what he says to Josadao, is like, I it's not my place to say, but I'll do, you know, like I serve God by serving my Khan. And he's like, oh, you think he's a port or a pathway to God? He's like, no, he's just a man. But that's how
I thought
see
in
it.
that scene, which we'll talk about in a minute, I thought that Josada was referencing the Khan being quiet. I didn't
talking
make
about
that.
Yusuf.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't make that connection. I was like, oh, interesting. He's just blatantly being like, we're quiet.
Well, he was basically saying your man is smart and he's honest and he doesn't think you should be going to war. And it's interesting that a chief of war doesn't want you to, and yet you are. Like, you're not listening to him. And I think it's another power play that Joss Sadao is doing. Like, I know what you're doing, but you don't know what I'm doing. And you should maybe listen to your chief of staff type thing.
Yeah. And then we see... Oh, Jingham. So Jingham basically is the biggest cock block out.
This guy, Jingham.
You have this scene that, I don't know, I'm excited to see Warrior Princess and Biamba make out for a little bit.
Kudalan.
And they're talking about, like, you're the wolf. No, you're the wolf. You're the crow. What are we going to do about war? I don't know. We're like the hot war
Let's
couple.
just have sex on the war map.
Like, they're so, like... What's with everyone having forbidden sex in this episode? Every girl
That's
keeps trying to
true.
have forbidden sex. Like, let's do it now. And the guy's just like, listen, we can't do it here. Come on, give it to me.
You're right, yeah.
It's like everyone's trying to do it. I'm just like, I mean, I get it. I mean, I guess there's no real privacy.
I suppose they're like, it's my dad's. He's like, it's my dad's 10.
Should we really? I don't care.
I don't care.
He's like,
Do me on the war map. And then Jingham's like, hey, like,
I know.
Hey, crow and war horse.
I know.
And
I know.
all of us were just like, shut up, Jingham.
even when he was seen in the first scene, and he does this weird kind of like brush his hair from his
With
face.
his thumb,
I
they're
was
like,
like,
ugh.
I cannot with
oh,
him.
Jingham.
He's just.
I just feel like he, for me, is a constant Mean Girls moment of, he doesn't even go here.
Yeah.
Like, no one wants him here. Don't listen to what he says.
No one wants you
Like,
here.
no one, he doesn't do anything in this. Come on, I'm from here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He comes in, does a massive cock block, and then he basically confesses that he doesn't trust Marco, and he doesn't, and that Ahmed has his back. So.
What's the name? I liked it when he said. I'm sorry, I got lost for a quick second. I liked it when he said. When he asked Jingham, why do you think he did it? And Jingham's just like, because I'm confident. Because it's from me.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay, then yeah.
Yeah, not what
He's a
facts do you
traitor.
have? My confidence, and we all
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, boo!"
Like Jingham, man, he just like everything. Like even in the beginning, he's just always ranting against Marco, and I thought he got over it.
No,
You know, with the issue with Marco's father, I thought he began to understand him. He's still like, why is he listening to him?
Well, you know what's going to happen is they're going to keep Marco in the court, and then I mean, him and Blue Princess got, you know, they
Jingham's
did
only-
the deed,
oh.
and he's gonna flip
Jingham.
2,000 shits.
There's his hatred for Marco is only going to amplify.
I almost feel like I just want Jingham to just explode. Just like,
"Ah!"
yeah, that's what I feel like if it was a comedy. So that kind of sets us up for a little bit later on. And then we meet there's this nice kinship between Marco and one of the captives.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
it's a really nice banter. We see them playing what I would call knucklebones. Did you guys have knucklebones? Mm-mm. Oh, gosh, I'm such a
We had-
foreigner.
we had, like,
Knucklebones. That's
jacks.
really a game?
Yeah, they were like little kind of bone-shaped things like that, and there would be like levels, like little games, so you kind of like have to throw them and make them land on back
I
of
thought
your
they were just
hand.
playing
and then-
old school dice, like Mongolian dice. Like we didn't have dice back then.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
here's
that's kinda
he's
what
like,
I
this
thought,
is a
too.
sheep, this is a cow, this is a horse. I'm like, what are you playing?
Yeah.
What game is this?
Initially, I thought they were teeth. I was like, it's weird, but it's cute.
Yeah. And I
Y'all play
like
sheep, horse, goat?
I like their friendship, you know,
Yeah.
like, well, Mako gives him some meat, which is weird too. I'm like, meat out of your pocket, that's weird. Like, I'm like, my brain goes, they will have upset
I
stomachs,
know,
you
you're
know.
gonna get diseases.
But it's a nice friendship. He calls him blonde, which is kind of cute. And yeah, it's weird because it's the first time we see Marco speak fondly of his new home.
Yeah.
And
So what did you guys think about that? Because he literally says, yes, I'm very blessed to be in the Imperial House. And
I feel like Marco is really showing confidence that he's fully immersed into Kublai's court.
And he's
fully,
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, Kublai's
I
my
feel
guy.
good about it.
I'm with it. I swear everything to him. He's my
Yeah.
like he's fully immersed. And when the guy's asking him questions about, will he accept me? He's like, yeah, you can have a great time. You know, we got milk. we got cows. And he's just, like, oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
he asked him first what he would miss.
Yeah.
Would he
Like-
miss anything about here? And the guy's like, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
What did you think of that little budding friendship?
I felt the same. I thought it was really nice to see. I think it softened the episode until a point, obviously, and then made it worse. But it was a really nice moment to see Marco interact with this guy, and I guess have a kinship as well. Like, oh, I see myself in you, and it'll be fine. Oh, you do crafts? Like, he has so many great craftsmen. You're
great
going to
time.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably won't get to live where I live, but you'll be happy. And, it felt like, to me, solidifying Marco's in it. Like, he's found love for the Khan and his new home. And I think they did that intentionally so that...
Fast forward a few minutes and we can see such a dramatic flip.
And not only confident, not only happy in the court. He's like, I feel like he's overconfident now to having the Khan's ear. Even beforehand, when Jingham was against his initial plot to do the war thing, Marco just goes. He's like, no, we gotta do it my way. My way's the right way. That's what I saw. And he before he might have been like, Mom, okay, maybe the prince is right. And now he's just full on like, nah, I'm Kublai.
Everyone hates Jingham.
Yeah, Kublai, listen to me. Like, he's just full on, like, completely confident. I feel like his chest is puffed up. He's really feeling himself right now.
Yeah. Well, it's
By this time,
not
by
about
this
to.
moment.
Yeah, in that moment. So yeah, it's a nice. I really like that. I think it was a nice
too.
camaraderie.
I didn't know why they introduced the prisoner, but when you see later, like, oh, this was just a plot point to make him.
Yeah,
to let
so
you,
you're tied to it a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
and so it's a bigger. Pull
they
the
got
rug
me.
from under you. Yep,
Yeah.
we're all got.
Kudos.
There's an interesting scene that follows this where it's Biamba and Warrior Princess's dad, where they're like kind of touching this horse. I don't know. I feel like for me, I'm like, stop touching the horse, Biamba. Like, this is your future wife's dad. I guess in maybe Western
Stand to
culture,
attention.
yeah, it would be a different conversation. It ends up being this kind of nice chat, but to start with, I'm like, you want to marry his daughter? Like, shouldn't you pay attention? He's like just feeding his horse. Like, yeah.
It mirrored like a high school boy being like on a couch, fidgeting, waiting for the girlfriend, and the dad being like, so what are your intentions with my daughter? And the kid being like, oh, I don't know. I have a car. And I'm
you're just having a car with her?
Yeah, no.
You're going to be in the car with her?
No,
Yeah.
I'll have her back by 9. Well, my daughter does have good taste, so I'm trusting that you're noble and kind. Yeah, no, I am. Like, just looking around, fidgeting, kind of like. I mean, obviously it's different because Biamba is
Biamba.
Biamba.
He's all right.
And he has kind of a nice moment when the dad walks off and he's kind of like smiling. And I did say out loud, I was like, Daddy.
What did he said something. He goes, well, I'm glad that the horse won't be in my herd
Yeah,
or
I didn't
something.
get that reference.
Well, I didn't understand that.
I
was like, is
think
that a
it
dig
means
or is that-
No. I think it's that since he's gonna marry Kutalan, that's like her horse, and he was like, it was a weak horse, anyways. Kind of like a cool, like.
It's
you know
her
how guys
horse.
do digs at each other, like, hey man, you look like shit. It's their way of saying like, I love you.
That is how we
Where have you
communicate.
been? It
That
felt like
is
one
how
of
we
those moments
communicate.
of being like, making a funny comment to be like, good, I'm glad that my daughter's taking her horse with her. It was always
It was
badly
stupid
trained.
anyway.
Yeah, to be,
Yeah, you
because
punch him in the shoulder.
Biamba smiles like, cool, I've got his blessing, and he's actually a cool guy, kind of.
Well, good for them.
Well,
Our
good for
little
Biamba.
stories
Our
on their
favorite
end.
power couple.
Yeah.
Hey, good job. Wikipedia Wilbert, you made a comeback.
Yes.
You brought it back.
Thank you. You thought it'd gone away?
No,
she's
we got
back.
you. We're here.
Wikipedia.
This great scene with Kublai Khan and Jai Sadal when they're just sitting opposite each other for a
finger
period
tapping.
of time.
Even the camera angle is just like,
It's
just it out.
comical.
Kublai, just it out.
And
Just
just
about-
silence.
He's so smug. He's just looking at him like,
Well, isn't it funny that they're for a parlay and all they do is just threaten each other?
I know.
And then they walk out and they're like, well, that didn't work. So. Oh, by the way, here's my wife. She's alive.
Yeah.
And here's
we
your
have
people in
all of your
cages.
people in cages.
yeah, you're gonna look really stupid now. And then jousted out ends up giving good face.
It's,
A lot of good face acting. Like,
Yeah. It's, there was I feel like that was a genuine surprise, though. I don't think that he anticipated
Yeah, that was
Chalby
good.
to be alive
Yeah.
because you felt that. And I love the subtlety of the acting in big moments here. You know, like they're always having to play against, like, the story is that he's surprised, but you kind of look at his face and it's all happening internally. So total kudos to all of the cast for this, because I think that they do it really well.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're so subtle, and it allows us as the audience to investigate and have theories, whereas, you know, if you compare something like this to maybe a soap or something else, it, you know, you could have the sound off and be able to tell the story, whereas I like the subtleties that the cast plays with here. So and with such a complex script, you know, like, we're all actors too, understanding that and then being able to play against. So I don't know whether that's the director that's, you know, phenomenal, or I imagine it's more of a team effort, but this was one of those moments where the stakes are so high and you've got these two lead males who are just sort of straight face, and it's exciting to watch.
It really is. It was a really good scene, and I love the, like, Kublai's just, his lines are just so quick and to the point. Like when he says, "Oh, so you want me to just give up to you?" He's like, "If you're smart." Yeah. I was like, "Oh, all right, that's what I'm talking about." Kublai, just you know, if you're not dumb, if not, I'm gonna kill you.
I love that about him. He's had those moments before where he makes his little quips, and he's pretty pointed. And I think Joss Sadao he doesn't have to say as many things because he's got his secrets. He still does, but he more uses facts, like, oh, your man Yosef, he's very honest. Like, you should listen to him. And Kublai is kind of like, or you could get down on your knees, bitch. And Joss Sadao's like, cool. I tried. You know,
it is that whole thing of, like, we can see all of the Khan's cards, like, we're privy to all of his information, but we're not with Joss Sadao, so it is that interesting thing to watch.
Well, and you do see the moment of surprise with him, and then fury at his men in cages, and you think, wow, like, he's really wounded. You see him wounded again later in the episode with Jing Fei, but then the turn, of course, is really interesting, that the battle doesn't go how we think it's going to go, and you're like, Joss Sadao always knows something that we don't.
He's so insecure. There's something, when he talks, there's this insecurity to him where he always has to zing you. Where he always has to, while you're talking to him, he has to let you know, by the way, I'm smarter than you, and that's why, you know, this is very, him and Jingham. He's just, you know, he's just smarter and better than Jingham. But but they both have this, you know, that, like, trying to prove a point. That I'm this, you know.
What did you think about the scene that comes directly after this with Jing Fei and with Joss Sadao? So he's sitting there, and he wipes off her makeup and then gestures to the sword, and then she's going to dance with the sword. So before I tell, like, my opinion of this scene to its climax, what did you think about this particular scene?
My first thought was, that's pretty impressive that she did that with the sword when she committed suicide. Like, that big old sword, and she was just like, and just completely inhaled it. I was just like, that's pretty. I mean, after the first point into her gut, she wouldn't have been able to do it. But she just, that blade was so long, she took it like a champ. No, but she just put it all into her ribs. Sorry, that's a lot.
We got the joke way too later after that. We were so engrossed in what you were saying.
She had this big sword, and she just...
Well, because he kind of he confesses his love to her. Yeah. And then she's dancing, and I almost thought she might take a stab at killing him. Like, she's doing this dance, which I'm not sure if that's, like, a done thing. Like, hey, I'm going to dance with a sword in front of you. But she has a few digs, and that's when he chooses to reveal, like, hey, you lied to me. And her answer to that is, like, cool, I'm going to kill myself. So what are your thoughts on it, Kitty?
Yeah, I felt like from the moment that he ushered to the sword, she understood. Yeah. I feel like the dance started and she knew. I think it was, I think sometimes when you're going through extreme emotions, there's a part of you that has to escape for a second, and I felt like that's what it was, and they did it through the dance, which was beautiful and artistic, and I think indicative of the show as a whole, and the way that they exhibit this specific culture, and the way that they don't have to talk about things, they don't have to explain it so much, they can do it in a dance, which is amazing to me, and it spoke so much to me without words, and the moments that she did, and I thought the same thing, I was like, is she gonna kill him? And when she didn't with the first swipe, I was like, no, it's that part of her that wishes she could. So I felt like all of it was very metaphorical, and they did it in a very cool way that was beautiful to watch. And I think when you see her getting emotional, I guess that was a moment for me where I was like, I think that she does love him in a strange way, and I think the way that he never touched her was also like partly because he was disgusted by the whoreness aspect of it because of his sister, but also because I think there's a love there, and I don't know if she would have gotten that from other men who loved her to be able to go, I'm not going to touch you, I just be with me. And I think there was an aspect of that where she's like, I disappointed him. I do love him, even if he did all these terrible things. Like, I think you can love someone and still be aware that you shouldn't love them. And I think it's also, a cultural thing to kill yourself with a sword admirably.
Well, it's not the first character that's done it to the show either. Obviously, the real Blue Princess kills herself that way too.
Yeah, but that's why I made the reference to the knife, to the sword. It wasn't, it wasn't all a sexual reference. When I made reference to the sword, it was just...
Well, sword is a phallic-weighted, phallic object too. So.
Yeah, but it was before she used the knife, and that's why the sword was so big too, and she really goes through her with her blade, and it's just so long that I'm not.
No, we're gonna leave you there. We're not gonna help you at all. You wrap it up.
I'm not trying to say anything, but it's just like she doesn't look strong enough to put that entire blade through her. That's what I'm saying. It
was shot interestingly too. He walks out and we see it all happening behind him. I kind of thought, I wrote that it was an artistic way to do that whole scene, and I thought that was kind of cool. And it did slow the pace of the episode down a little bit because we're not quite sure how it's going to go. And yeah, you're right. There's a lack of dialogue in that scene too. I thought it was quite cool.
And he had that one tear. I think it was good to see him be vulnerable and honest in an episode where there was, actually there was a lot of honesty happening, but I think on his end he's always so secretive.
Sure.
And I think for him to literally say to someone, I shouldn't have fallen in love with you, but I did, and that
was shocking to me that he even admitted that, to be honest with you.
To say that out loud,
I
was really shocked by it, and to see him cry, those were moments that were huge for his character to be like, wow, this is a man.
He has no one now, and I think that makes him scarier.
Yeah.
As a villain, to go, I'm not tied to anything.
Yeah, there's
no one anymore. Yeah. So, we then have a bit of a friendship breakup with Biamba and Marco. It moves into this scene in the tent. This is something we actually have been talking about in our real lives this week, like when friends break up with each other.
Have you ever had a friend break up with you?
I remember I broke up with a friend when I was younger.
Did you?
It was actually he was my best friend, but it was actually very similar. It wasn't not to this because I don't think they broke up, but it was very similar.
But it felt that way. It's kind of. It hurts because you're like, these are our buddies. We love the Biamba Marco. Well, I do anyway. They're dynamic. We've seen them have little battles and
Marco
take
saved
digs.
his life.
Yeah. But that's why he's just. I don't really think he's breaking up with him. I just think he's trying to let him know, listen, you have to get out of here because he's pretty much warning him that no one trusts you. Well, those two specifically don't trust you, and Ahmed and
Jingham,
and Jingham, and what was the line he said? Arrows fly from all different directions, so they might take that opportunity to stick it to you.
I think
you gotta leave, man.
Like when someone's like, I don't love you, leave, but really in their eyes they're like, stay, please stay, don't leave. It felt like
I never loved you.
Yeah,
we were
moment
never friends.
of trying to hurt someone to help them.
Yeah. It's also the first wave because we see Margot slowly get broken down now. So we've gone. He loves it. He loves it in the palace, and he's telling his friend, the little captor, about it. And it's so wonderful. Yeah. And then he's got his best friend being like, "Think you should leave, bro. People don't like you here anymore." Ow. And then he steps outside and it starts to get worse. Now, this is probably one of the most disturbing scenes I have seen for a number of reasons. Basically, everyone gets cut up and their limbs are put into a soup. And
I didn't know what was happening.
No, and I mean, the episode is called Rendering, and we were chatting a little bit before the show, too, about why. Now, I found out that one of the names for rendering is kind of to melt down the fat into an oil. And so it seems like that's what they're doing. They're cutting the limbs off of the captors, putting them in this cauldron of a body soup.
Biggest cauldron I've ever seen in my life.
I know.
And
Where did they get that?
I don't know.
How did they get it there?
That's a big, that's a
Bigger
really huge
problem.
cauldron.
First of all, how do you move these cities? We don't see that.
Yeah.
And it's disturbing, it's horrific, and they say something about we're going to rain fire and render it into a weapon. So I don't know whether they're using it as an oil. Is that what we suspected?
Yeah, and they did this in the medieval times in
Wikipedia
England
Wilbert.
too.
Good job.
When they would drop oil at the entry. So if they were to be able to open the door that allows you into the entryway of the castle, they would have oil cans and they would drop it onto the incoming soldiers and then light them on fire.
But my question is,
Awesome.
and he does it.
So they're using their own people's body melting flesh blood
But-
to then light on fire.
Yeah.
These people are sick.
100 Eyes comes out of nowhere when Marco sees this, and 100 Eyes like on cue. It's crazy. He just comes on cue. By the way, here I am. You should just to inform him what happened. And he tells him that it's pretty much just a ploy against Jao Sidao because he's using his own people against him. Is Jao Sidao even going to know? Is he even going to know that this oil that they're using?
I think it's just a
Like, what's the-
mental thing. I mean, he saw him in cages. I'm sure there's an aspect of Jao Sidao that knew. He saw him
Yeah, but
there
he
and was
doesn't have to
like,
do it. He
cool,
just
so they're
pretend.
gonna... I mean, I think it was
a
really
power
important
play.
to see, though, because Marco has gone, this is my home, these people are great, and 100 Eyes says it. Marco's like, this is sin. And he's like, no, this is war. And this is not just war. This is your Khan's war, by the way. And I
That
think
you're part of. You're part of this.
And you saw 100 Eyes have some moments of doubt in himself when they went into the Jao Sidao's city, when he was like, oh, it's so funny that you think that this is a war that you actually believe in. There's a difference between what you actually believe in and what you're compelled to believe in. So I think you're seeing a bit of 100 Eyes being like, buddy, like you are confusing what you think is loyalty with force. Like you don't really have a choice. Like
They said, I think one of the most disturbing things that adds to that image is it's the first time we get smell brought into it. There's this shot of Marco smelling it before he sees it, and I think that added an extra
I was
layer
like,
of what that environment must be like. With television, that's a really interesting thing we don't see is people reacting to a smell.
Yeah,
so
we don't have smell-o-vision
it
yet.
adds to the yuckness that we're feeling.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they bring in the blonde's friend. They was calling him blonde.
Yeah, that's the part. The worst
and then
part.
and he was screaming out, "I want to go home."
Yeah, he says blonde. He says blonde. I want to go home. Oh.
Right there, like Marco was just like, "Wait a second." It was like a reality. Like, okay, this isn't everything I thought it was.
Yeah.
We then see 5 minutes, and we need to get to the Blue Princess and Marco because girl gives it up.
Okay, see,
so
and
Marco's
everyone-
at his lowest. He's like, maybe I am not attached to anyone. I hate this. I'm gonna leave. And she's like, hey. Oh, by the way, I'm not really the princess. Love me, and he's like,
Take
okay,
me.
cool. Like
See, and
That
another, the forbidden,
moment.
like, what's all this forbidden sex? They keep trying to have sex with these guys in the worst times.
I know.
And when she was mounting him, like the first time I watched the episode, I'm literally looking at the screen like, Marco, not now, not now, Marco,
Get
not
out.
now.
But if you think
Run.
about it, the Blue Princess, I'm like, she is effing shit up all the
She
time
is.
in a way that you're not aware of until that moment. Like, you see Marco run in, starting to get his things, and he's going, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't
I'm
be part of
realizing
this.
now I can't stand for this. And then she's in the corner like, where are
I
you
know.
going? And I'm like, no, bitch. Like, step
Back off.
This is the wrong moment, for sure. But it's also like, you know what? This is a woman who lied about who she is to be where she's at. And I think a lot of lies have a ripple effect. And I thought that was another way of seeing that. And, yeah, of course, that's how their hooking up ends up happening is this dramatic moment where she's like, oh, you were about to leave and save yourself? Well, this is the moment I'm going to tell you that I need you to be my protector and have sex with me.
Yeah. And Lord, she looked good.
that's of course.
She looked so good. I
Michael was
I-
like, hey, pouty lips.
I was
Hey,
like,
girl.
oh my goodness. I was like,
We then
Marco.
basically have this interesting scene of it fast forwards through what happens in the war the next day. We see Marco show up before they go into war. Katie had a comment of like, he looks like shit.
Yeah, he
like,
looked terrible.
Blue Princess kept him up all night. Like
I think he's just like, this is not what I want. That last night was crazy.
Yeah.
He got his heart, he saw a friend die, vomit-inducing murder.
Went through a friendship breakup.
Sweat-inducing sex. Waking up in the morning, he doesn't know what's happening.
He looked like hell. They really made him look like hell.
And then we see the climax of the episode. It's Marco on his knees in front of the Khan, being like, I'm sorry. And
Jingham loving every moment of it.
Loving it, being like, this is why everyone thinks it, which is interesting because we don't know what the Khan's people think of Marco at this point. Like, I feel like they would be on side with him because Jingham's such a douche, but, and I know that they're not supporters of Jingham, so that's maybe an interesting point. And Marco basically saying, I'm sorry, Jingham coming at him, Biamba, yay, friendship reunited, defending him, and the end of the episode basically on the Khan saying retreat. So, what do you guys predict for next episode?
Quick prediction. The marriage is probably going to be, Jing's probably going to have to get married to Blue Princess, and we all know that's going to be trouble. And I'm seeing Jingham's just going to hate on Marco some more. It's going to jump up, and I'm really curious to see how Marco's mentality in the next few episodes after this.
What do you think the Khan's going to do to Marco? What will change with that relationship?
I feel like they're going to have a council of some kind. Like, you know how they always sit and they play chess or something. At the same time, I could also see him pushing him out coldly, like not being like, you're gonna be in jail now, but just not allowing him into his court, like keeping at a distance until he can work out in his head what went wrong, because that's such a personal blow to him. Like, he wanted that win, and he wanted it, the legacy.
What was it? It's not, there's no good in anything unless it's finished, was the line.
And he didn't finish it. And so I think for him, even him being like, retreat, he was just staring like, how did this happen? And you see that sort of hope lost. So I could see him shutting Marco out in a hurtful way because he can't. I don't think he thinks Marco did it intentionally.
No, I think that my prediction for the next episode is Marco's going to receive some information that will help buy his way back in, whether it's on who is calling the shots, who is the leak, who is the rat. Yeah, obviously Ahmed. I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to see Marco be pushed out a little bit and then him receive some information, and it will probably be contested by Jingham or something like that. That's kind of the feeling I get for it and how it will push forward. But yes, we're so excited about the next episode. We're excited to see you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. But we also wanted to quickly talk about American Crime. We spoke about this last episode.
Good old show.
It's going to happen on Thursday, March 5th. On
oh my gosh, this week.
On ABC. Oh yeah, it's
That's
March.
so exciting.
Whoa, my life. So it's this Thursday in 2 days, and it's an amazing it's a groundbreaking show.
Incredible.
The show's a Pisces.
Yeah, the show is a Pisces. There you go. It's a great show. I think it's going to be hugely controversial. It deals with race. It deals with sexism. We all watched the trailer and think it's just going to be phenomenal, and it has an amazing cast too. So make sure you guys check in and watch that too.
And it was directed by the guy who directed 12 Years a Slave too. So they definitely, it's going to be very artistic and truthful. And
Felicity Hoffman, right?
Felicity Hoffman's in it. Good job, ABC. Killing it. So we're excited to see that this week. And thank you guys. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Interact with us. Let us know your thoughts or your predictions. And we love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.